I made one video joking about it and being rather insulting, rubbing salt into the wound over the wounded pride and ego of Trooper Duckworth, where I beat the crap out of him in magistrate court back in 2006. Now, it's really, really important to understand something here. This little flyer that they put out, probably was started off as some little joke or something, probably internally within the Attachment 6, where, you know, other officers were busting on Trooper Duckworth for me calling him out for being a wannabe Dirty Harry and posing next to his little portrait of Clint Eastwood. And it becomes another issue in and of itself, in that what we're talking about here is the fact that, you know, they put up this flyer saying that if you can beat me up, you know, the lessons are free, but you won't beat me up, almost as if enticing people to come and fight me, and putting it out there as if it's, you know, me laying out the challenge. So it becomes this issue of not only the fact that I challenged Trooper Duckworth to come fight me in a cage match, but it comes down to the simple fact that what we're looking at here is a continuation of the same process I spoke of before about having certain snitches and informants come after me. But since those snitches and informants have already been pretty much exposed, Terrence Price, John Nathan Lilly, all of them, what you come into is this very simple fact that now they need anyone to do it. Instead of actually, you know, responding to me directly, coming out and saying, hey, I'm going to fight you, instead what we have here is a simple case of trying to create a situation in which, you know, they're hoping someone else will do their job for them. This is what we call, in the real world, being a pussy. They need a proxy to come and deal with me because they can't do it themselves. And they won't even deal with me like men. They won't even fight me in the middle of the street like men. I mean, granted, I did get the living crap kicked out of me by Trooper Moore and Trooper Palmatier, but the funny thing about that was I was handcuffed. And, you know, Trooper Palmatier being this West Virginia State Police Special Operations officer, SWAT team member, or whatever the fuck they are. Actually, I looked it up. You only become West Virginia State Police Special Operations on 4 accounts. You have Special Woodland Combat Training, similar to what I had in the Army. You have essentially tactical training, SWAT training, urban warfare training, whatever, same difference. It all comes from the same basic set of skills. Or you're a sniper, a police sniper, or you have a dog. From what I've seen, Trooper Palmatier has a dog. So, I guess, little Timmy and Lassie could be considered West Virginia State Police Special Operations. You know, little Timmy's got a dog. So it's all this whole ego trip, you know. They don't like me being the guy to be up here to insult them, to talk shit to the whole world on the internet. Because then people don't respect their authority. People see it and they, well, basically kind of throw that stuff up at them, don't they? You know? And so we're going for this little proxy of having someone else do it, putting up these little flyers, trying to get someone else to come kick my ass because apparently they fucking can't. Kind of tells you a lot about their character, doesn't it? It also goes into this other little factor that, you know, it shows an intent to disparage my character, to maybe set me up by having someone else attack me, and then when I defend myself, bringing charges against me, or simply the simple fact that they want someone else to shut me up because they fucking can't themselves. So what we come into is an interesting little situation here in which this in and of itself becomes a question to be brought up in court for my attorney. Maybe we want to have a handwriting expert take a look at these little flyers and wonder what's going on. Now, see, the interesting thing about this also is that what we're looking here is an act of desperation, a need to shut me up with the inability to do so. Now, granted, I have court coming up at the end of July, so if I were found guilty, then it would most definitely shut me up, except I'm not going to be found guilty. See, there's a small little issues. You can look on the internet. You can find this in my previous videos. It becomes an issue in and of itself that you know, I had filed complaints on these officers. They had threatened me with these child porn charges, and then when they brought them on me, there's recordings that show that they were acting in retaliation for complaints that I filed, including Captain White of Professional Standards. The fact that his boss, the Superintendent of State Police, and that his boss, the governor, had all this evidence and did nothing to pull this back, basically makes them look like accessories to the fact, if not co-conspirators in the whole affair. Then it gets even more interesting when we look at it in the fact that, you know, there's that second search warrant filed. So there's this whole issue with the second search warrant and everything else. And let's face it, the last thing anyone expected me to do was to waive indictment before the grand jury, because no one actually had the intent of trying me on this in court, because there's that whole issue of the second search warrant mentioned in the arrest warrant, which they still haven't given us as part of our discovery, which is becoming an issue because the prosecutor's not handing over things they're supposed to. This whole affair in and of itself is just actually quite funny. At this point, here's what we're going to have. We have an evidentiary hearing coming up in June. When we have to get down here and look at the evidence, it's going to become a very clear and pointed situation that they're going to have to produce things for discovery, or produce elements of evidence that they say exist. Now, they brought up the second search warrant. I want to know where this came into, because compared to the evidence I have, the evidence I've given them in discovery, in fact, the evidence that I've given the prosecutor's office when I fired Mingo Winters, all of this comes into a question of, it appears they're covering things up. See, while there are certain business competitors out here who are jumping up to disparage my martial arts style, to try to carry down my good name, the fact of the matter is, while they're saying I'm crazy and deranged, they're forgetting two important things. One, there's a psychological evaluation that says I'm both sane and innocent, and then there's a second psychological evaluation which says I'm also sane. So it becomes an issue here that when the forensic examiners are listening to me talk, that when I'm making these legal arguments, forensic psychologists are saying, hey, this guy's intelligent. He's, in fact, the IQ test I took has me just under genius. So you're talking about an extremely intelligent person who is using the law in and of itself, and who basically has these people trapped in their own bad habits and their own egotistical delusions of trying to look like something they're not, you know, like Dirty Harry. So it becomes this issue in and of itself that what we're looking at here, this whole little flyer is nothing more than you know, the need to have someone else to go do their job for them. See, they're hoping some little badass out there, or some little wannabe badass out there is going to step up to me and try to prove something, because it's already been mentioned on topics. Locally, I have a reputation. I'm considered kind of a badass. Now, the fact of the matter is that that reputation is built on my association with a lot of people in my past who were badasses, who had trained me in martial arts. Not all the way, not completely, but they've trained me in certain aspects. I've trained with them in certain styles. So I'm not even going to bother name dropping, because that's kind of weak. You know, if you have to drop people's names. Anyways, see, the basic situation what we're looking at here is essentially cowardice and impotence, even when they're trying to hide behind that cloak of authority. And the fact that I've put this information out, the fact that I've said the things I've said, and that they're going to this extent, which is really desperate and pathetic, essentially shows you that what I'm doing is working. And the closer we get to trial, the more this stuff shows up and the more this comes out. Essentially shows that it is working. And I don't like getting to them psychologically. Not only am I messing with their heads, not only are they emotionally invested in this, but they're also professionally invested, trying to cover up for their own criminality, and are seeking more and more desperate means of trying to entrap me or harass me. Because let's face it, if everything they said was true, then there would be no point in anything I said. I would just be some deranged idiot talking over the internet, which, if that's the case, then why am I getting to them? Why am I going so far? If I never beat up Trooper Duckworth like he says, then why is he so emotionally invested in the issue that I said that I did? Other than the fact that he just doesn't want everyone to know he got his ass kicked by a garden gnome. Something for you to think about.